Hey, everybody, welcome to the Equinox Jubilee. I'm Christopher Lee, otherwise known as the Soul Coach, and I'm also the CEO and founder of LifeGrove Media. I just wanted to pop on here live for a little bit while I had some time in between. My kid's currently taking a nap, so he might wake up in the middle of this live stream, but this is a bit experimental. I wanted to thank everybody who's tuned in thus far. I wanted to thank all of the different speakers and guests that we've had in interviews and who've sent us in great video content. Because moving forward, in the spirit of the seasons of the year, we're going to be doing events like this a lot more often. In fact, we're going to be doing 8 every year. So you can start to look forward to a plethora of new content here on LifeGrove Media on YouTube, as well as on our social media channel Haven, which you can find at www.grovesocial.org for the time being. But I did want to pop on here today to talk about a system of spiritual enhancement or enlightenment that I came across a few years back, and I like to call it Integrative Spirituality. Now, a lot of what I do as a life coach, particularly focused on spirituality, is helping people to understand their own unique variants of spiritual awakening. You see, spiritual awakening isn't something that happens to us in a bullet point list. It's not something linear. It's not you can follow A to B to C. In fact, for each one of us, it is remarkably unique. And I wanted to go through a method in which you can start to explore this spiritual awakening more effectively. And I call this integrative spirituality because it integrates 3 very critical parts of our experience. The first part of that experience, of course, is our primal nature. This is something that relates to you on a DNA, a cellular, or a blood level. I've heard it referred to in certain esoteric parlance as the living river of blood that's within you. And I'm talking about your ancestral connection. Your ancestral connection is very important to you and to your spiritual journey. It's not something that you can escape. It's not something that you can try to rebel against. It's always going to be a part of you as you are a physical, living, and incarnate being here on planet Earth. And so it's something that you need to explore. Many of us have not had the opportunity to explore this side of us, particularly people who have been raised in the Western culture, a culture that has been largely usurped by the current major religions that we have today. There's nothing wrong with that usurpation. It's just kind of a part of where we are. But each one of us has this calling. As an example, what I'll say is, for me, the way that I kind of relate to this is I used to think about why I felt such a visceral connection to certain kinds of music, particularly stuff like this neo-pagan, Nordic, Celtic kind of music. I didn't understand why it called to me in such a deep and resonating way. Something about the shamanic drum beating in like a Wardruna song, and I didn't understand what that was until I kind of had this realization that it's something that I needed to explore on a deeper level. This is kind of the first approach, and I call it the primal approach, or the deep time. Each one of us has all of these things within us. So wherever you're from, there is kind of a tribal or an animistic spirituality that comes with you as part of the package deal, and it's really fun to explore that. So the first part, when you start to feel this spiritual awakening, you've gone through maybe a dark night of the soul, and you've realized that there's more to life than what has been, open for you. The first and best place, really, to start to explore your own unique brand of spirituality is figuring out where you come from. So this can be as easy as, say, taking an Ancestry.com test or, a 23andMe and figuring out what your genetic makeup is. Figure out where you're from and start to explore the people, the ancestors that created you in this beautiful form that you're in now. That's a very fun exercise. It can be really illuminating to see where your people came from and where you come from specifically, all the different miracles that had to happen along the way just right to get you here in this moment. And once you start to explore that, you start to see that there's something there. And it can lead you down roads, or paths, I should say, of great illumination, wherein you might find out a little bit more about yourself than maybe you even want to. And that can be scary, sure, going back and exploring certain Nordic traditions and finding this kind of primal energy that called me to battle was something that was alarming to me, particularly in my work as a healer and a coach. It's like I don't want to have this energy, right? But it was something that was there. And so it produced in me a new challenge, something that I could take on and say, okay, so I do have this kind of berserker temperament at times, which really does help me get things done in my own life. It doesn't have to be utilized on the battlefield. It doesn't have to be blood and splitting bones and all these sorts of things. But that tenacity of, say, the Nordic or Viking lineage is still something within me, and it's something that I can harness for what I want to accomplish in my life. And so I think that is remarkably important for us to explore. And so in kind of wrapping up this first part of integrative spirituality, the first pillar, the primal mind, or the primal ties to your blood, I encourage you to experiment there and figure out where it is that you come from and start to explore all those divergent paths of spirituality. And once you do, I know you're going to find something really remarkable. Sorry, that leads me to the second part. The second part is more of a healing journey. It's not as much of a fun exploration and experimentation. It's one of healing, and it's one where you need to start to heal yourself. And so, as I can see, I'm going to have to come back and talk to you guys about the second pillar at another time because my kid's waking up. But I promise I will get back on here later this evening and or tomorrow so that I can talk about the second and third pillars of integrative spirituality. And so, in the meantime, I challenge you, if you like this video, go ahead and start exploring some of the ancestry, or if you already know what that is, if you know where your people come from, start exploring some of that spiritual tradition. And maybe I'll talk some more about that later. But for now, this stream is going to end, and I'll be back later. Blessings and peace be unto thee.